So we're going to go through and fortify and regulate, balance out the vagus nerve, which is tied to the parasympathetic activity, which is your rest and repair. It would diminish the tendency to be in fight flight or stress in the body. A lot of times when I'm talking about, you don't really feel stress in your emotions or in mind, but you might be feeling stress in the body. It's the sympathetic part of the nervous system. It's like it's just agitated and wound up, and it's responding to things that are happening in the environment, or perceived potentials, whatever that might be. And so it's a way for calming the body down, reducing tension in the body, tension that you don't even really know that you have until it's diminishing. And all of this really starts to kind of quiet and soothe the mind and the emotions. And then from there, in that place of quieted emotions, there's ways of just gently, like almost effortlessly, just releasing some of the pent up emotions or old thoughts that have accumulated over a period of time. And it's not so much about the stories themselves, it's more about just the agitation that came from the nervous system being agitated, imbalanced, and things that have happened to you, like old traumas, old events, old, whatever it is. And so first day is going to be a lot of just calming and soothing various portions of the physiology. And you know how we sometimes work the arms with mugwort, and then sometimes we do it with camphor. We're going to do it uh, three different aspects with that. And one of it is, this happens like with arthritis, this happens with postural misalignments, this happens with all kinds of things. But if the joints don't have like a sufficient amount of like blood or energetically like red prana in the joints themselves to like stabilize the joints, it sends messages to the brain that um, things are unstable, or you're vulnerable. It doesn't do it like how your mind thinks. It's just like, "Ugh, careful, red alert, red alert." It's just a really simple like way of like agitating the body. And so there's these things that we're going to go through and do where we kind of strengthen and fortify different parts of your body and things like that, so that it just allows your mind to go, ah, because like sometimes you have like agitation or anxiety and you try to make sense out of it and you're like, I don't know what it is. And it's usually something's off in the physiology, where your physiology is just telling you that something feels unstable, or something feels like vulnerable, or has a potential of being heard, or not being able to function properly when you go out. And so there's just these like steps where you go through and calm things down and fortify. And so we'll do that physically, we'll do that emotionally, mentally. And then the last component is about sticking like little kinds of pieces of information into your physiology that help support higher emotional function, higher mental function, and like spiritual aspects of it, tied with working the three brains, which is your brain, the second brain, which is the brain in your gut, and then the brain in the sex chakra, which is the root brain, not the root chakra, the root brain, which is like instinctive responses, like things that you don't really think about. Like when you get triggered, something you say or do triggers you, it's the sex chakra and then the Ming Men, which is your adrenals. The sex chakra perceives something in the environment where I was like, and then the adrenals go, I know, and then they freak out and then throw your body into anxiety or a panic attack. And so by like harmonizing and aligning these three things, for one, it opens up intuitive mind, it calms down the logical mind, it makes the logical mind much sharper, and it starts to calm down these tendencies of getting triggered or being reactive, or just pushing back on things that we haven't really quite processed yet. And when you harmonize these three, it is actually tied to the development of clairvoyance. And even in the workplace, it's tied to being very like innovative. I taught this to somebody who's a corporate person, and she goes, this little thing with the three brains, it's like addictive. She goes, I feel like I've been in a Mensa class, like where my brain is just working at a much higher rate. And she goes, I am problem solving like nobody's business. And it's almost just like playing a video game. It's just like fun. And I was like, yeah, that's what we were shooting out for. She goes, yeah, you undersold it. You totally undersold it. And I didn't even teach her the whole thing. I just taught her like a little piece out of this class. And so the last part with the spiritual part would either be directed as innovation in the material world, or like spiritualizing in the mystical sense. But like I would say more on the mystical side, where it's just about the heart getting bigger and starting to have more inner experiences and just deeper levels of peace, rather than trying to stimulate a bunch of things to make something happen. It's just like deeper levels of peace, deeper levels of heart activation, deeper levels of crown. So